Breaking news has just come in. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made a shocking announcement about who will be responsible for the sacrificial ceremony of the red heifer, a ritual steeped in deep historical and religious significance. Who could it be? And why is this role so crucial? This announcement has implications for those directly involved and the broader religious and political community. So let's dive into this video today to uncover the details behind Netanyahu's surprising disclosure and what it means for the future of this ancient ritual. For nearly 1,900 years, while living in exile, the Jewish people longed to return to Israel. They dreamed of rebuilding the Third Temple in Jerusalem and resuming the sacred temple services. Devout Jews pray 3 times a day, hoping, "May the Holy Temple be rebuilt speedily and in our day." Despite the presence of Jews in the Holy Land throughout history, it was after the horrors of the Holocaust that Jews began returning to Israel in large numbers. In 1948, fulfilling the prophecy from Isaiah 66:7-8, the State of Israel was established, marking a prophetic rebirth of the Jewish nation. Since then, Jews from around the world have continued to return to Israel. Since the year 1967, there has been a significant push within Israel to rebuild the Holy Temple. However, this effort faces a major challenge because the Temple Mount, the historic site where the temple needs to be built, is currently occupied by the Dome of the Rock. Many see the Jewish people's return to Israel and their efforts to rebuild the Third Holy Temple as the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. The Bible is rich with prophecies about the gathering of Israel's exiles and rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. The prophet Isaiah foretold, "He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the 4 quarters of the earth." This prophecy is echoed throughout the scriptures, including in Jeremiah 23:3-8, Ezekiel 28:25-11-17, Zechariah 10:6-12, and Psalm 147:2, emphasizing the return of the Jewish people from diaspora. Moreover, the prophet Haggai spoke of the future glory of the temple, stating, "The glory of this present Acharon last house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord YHVH Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace, declares the Lord YHVH Almighty." Haggai 2:9. This indicates a physical rebuilding and a spiritual renewal that will surpass the splendors of the past. Significant preparations have been made today in anticipation of this prophesied rebuilding. Sacred vessels and priestly garments, essential for temple worship, have already been crafted. Additionally, over 500 young men, descendants from the tribe of Levi, have been meticulously trained as temple priests. These Levites are prepared to carry out their ancient duties of worship and sacrifice, pivotal roles in the ritual life of the Third Temple once it is constructed. The rebuilding of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem hinges on a seemingly peculiar requirement, the red heifer, known in Hebrew as the para adumah. How can a single cow be crucial to a significant religious endeavor? According to the Torah, the red heifer holds the unique power to restore the ritual purity necessary for the temple service to commence. The Bible specifically mentions, "Then Eleazar the priest is to take some of red heifer blood on his finger and sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent of meeting." Numbers 19:4. This act, performed with an unblemished and pure red heifer, is essential for cleansing and preparing the priests and worshipers to partake in the temple rituals. Why is the Third Temple important in Judaism? The Third Temple is central to Jewish Orthodox tradition and eschatology. It symbolizes the anticipated era of the Messianic age, a time of global peace and divine harmony. Envisioned as the final temple to be constructed in Jerusalem, it follows the historical destruction of Solomon's temple in 587 BCE and the Second Temple in 70 CE. The rebuilding of the Third Temple is not just an aspiration. It is deeply embedded in daily Jewish prayers and cultural expectations. This temple is closely tied to the prophesied arrival of the Messiah, marking a critical juncture in Jewish belief. The Messiah is expected to usher in a period of profound spiritual renewal and worldwide tranquility. Many believe that the construction of the Third Temple could herald the Messiah's coming or happen concurrently with this anticipated event. Such a moment is seen as crucial for restoring complete religious practices within Judaism, including re-establishing the priesthood and resuming the sacrificial ceremonies as prescribed in the Torah. More than just a place of worship, the Third Temple is envisaged as a monumental beacon of divine promise, linking the divine and the earthly, symbolizing God's unending presence among His people and embodying the eternal hope embedded in biblical prophecies of redemption and salvation. The ashes of the red heifer and ritual purity. The ashes of the red heifer hold profound significance in Jewish religious practices as outlined in the Torah. A man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and put them in a ceremonially clean place outside the camp. They are to be kept by the Israelite community for use in the cleansing water. It is for purification from sin. Numbers 19:9. This ritual purification process is critical, especially in preparation for the construction of the Third Temple in Jerusalem. It cleanses the Temple Mount, the sacred vessels, and the Levitical priesthood, all of which are integral to reinstating temple services. The Temple Institute, a group dedicated to readying the Third Temple's construction, emphasizes the importance of these waters of sanctification. Historically, these waters were sprinkled on anyone considered impure, purifying them before they could enter the temple's courts, thus maintaining the holiness of the space. This practice is rooted in the commandment, "You must keep the Israelites separate from things that make them unclean, so they will not die in their uncleanness for defiling my dwelling place which is among them." Leviticus 15:31. While some modern Jews and Christians may view the red heifer ritual as an archaic tradition, its significance is reaffirmed in prophetic scriptures that link it to the end times and the Messianic era. Ezekiel's prophecy connects the ritual cleansing with Israel's regathering. "For I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back to your own land. I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your impurities and idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh." Ezekiel 36:24-26. The mystery of the red heifer. The red heifer remains one of the most profound enigmas within the Torah, captivating the curiosity of rabbis across generations. It's puzzling how the ashes of this sacrificed animal can cleanse someone from sin and impurity. Adding to the complexity, there's a paradox where those involved in the red heifer's preparation, from collecting the ashes to sprinkling the cleansing water, become ritually unclean themselves until the evening. The rabbis classify this commandment as a chukim, a term for divine statutes that transcend human comprehension, much like the kosher and dietary laws. These aspects of Jewish law are followed strictly based on faith in divine wisdom, despite their mysterious nature. Some Jewish scholars link the red heifer to the Israelites' sin of worshiping the golden calf. In this interpretation, the red heifer acts as a form of atonement for that grave sin, symbolically reversing those past transgressions. The connection suggests a deep restorative process that reconciles the people with their past mistakes. Despite the complexity and seemingly illogical aspects of the red heifer's ritual, many Orthodox Jews continue to embrace this commandment with humility and obedience. Their commitment stems from a profound reverence and love for God, willing to adhere to His commands without full understanding. This attitude echoes the response of the Israelites when they received the divine laws, as recorded in Exodus 24:7. Then he took the book of the covenant and read it to the people. They responded, "We will do everything the Lord has said. We will obey." The Third Temple. Finding the red heifer. For a cow to qualify as a red heifer for the critical purpose of purification, it must strictly meet the criteria set forth in Numbers 19 and elaborated in the Talmud. The heifer must be entirely red, with even 2 non-red hairs or non-red hooves leading to disqualification. It should be between 3 and 4 years old, though older animals are permissible, but not younger. The heifer must be completely free from any internal and external defects and never have been used for labor or yoked, even once. Only a heifer that meets all these requirements is deemed suitable for producing the ashes used in the purification process. Interestingly, this animal is not considered a typical sacrifice, as it is not slaughtered and burned within the temple grounds, but rather on the Mount of Olives outside the camp, as specified in Numbers 19. 3. Moreover, the potential construction of the third temple in Jerusalem and the use of the red heifer for purification do not necessarily signify the end of the world in Jewish thought. Instead, these events are seen as significant markers in apocalyptic narratives, often interpreted as heralding a period of divine presence and spiritual renewal, a precursor to the Messianic era of peace and harmony. However, Jewish scholars and groups hold diverse opinions regarding the exact circumstances and timing of the Third Temple's construction. Some believe that human actions are vital in fulfilling these prophecies, while others anticipate that the temple will be divinely established, marking the beginning of redemption. Opinions vary significantly within the Jewish community. Some view the reconstruction of the temple as a positive step towards fulfilling biblical prophecies, while others approach the subject with caution, mindful of the complex geopolitical implications involved. Overall, in Jewish eschatology, the building of the Third Temple and the ritual of the red heifer are considered crucial elements, not necessarily as portents of the world's end, but as significant in the broader context of divine providence and the fulfillment of promises of salvation and restoration laid out in the Scriptures. Arrival of red heifers in Texas. 5 perfectly red heifers crucial for the biblical purification rituals, recently arrived in Israel from Texas. This marks a significant step towards preparations for building the Third Temple in Jerusalem. These heifers, all under 1-year-old, must maintain their entirely red coat without any blemishes to remain qualified for use in creating the ashes needed for purification. According to the Temple Institute, these ashes are essential for purifying individuals who have come into contact with a dead body, particularly enabling the Kohanim, priests, to perform their duties in the future temple. Upon their arrival, the cattle were transported to Heifer and placed under a mandatory 7-day quarantine as required by the Israel Veterinary Authority. Post-quarantine, they will be relocated to 2 different facilities in Israel. One of these locations will eventually be open to the public, where the heifers will be cared for until they reach at least 3 years of age, the age at which they can be slaughtered to produce the necessary purification ashes. The initiative to bring these heifers to Israel was supported by the Boneh Israel organization, which includes both Jews and Christians. Texas rancher Byron Stinson, who played a pivotal role in raising and selecting these cattle, is also a fundraiser and advisor for the organization. Several key figures were present at a welcoming ceremony held at Ben Gurion Airport, including Rabbi Tzachi Mamo, Rabbi Yisrael Ariel, Rabbi Azariah Ariel from the Temple Institute, and Netanyahu Isaac, Director General of the Jerusalem and Heritage Ministry, alongside Stinson. Stinson, who has become an expert in identifying suitable red heifers, expressed his commitment to the cause. "I didn't set out to do this, but right now, I am probably the best red heifer hunter in Texas," he told Israel 365 News. He continued, "The Bible says to bring a red cow to purify Israel, and I may not understand it, but I am just doing what the Bible says." He even likened it to a key necessary to operate a vehicle. "The prophecies came true and the Jews are back in Israel," he added. "Now they need to build a temple, but it's like buying a really nice car. If you don't have the key, you aren't going anywhere. The red heifer is the key to making the temple work like it's supposed to." The Christian farmer who initially raised these cattle was deeply fascinated by this biblical commandment and began breeding specifically for this trait. When will the sacrifice happen? Now comes the main thing. When will the sacrifice happen? Well, the right-wing Israeli organizations are reportedly planning to slaughter red heifers at Al-Aqsa Mosque as part of an effort to fulfill a Jewish prophecy. This act is viewed as a precursor to calls for demolishing the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which could significantly escalate tensions in the region. The Temple Institute has scheduled a meeting to discuss the religious procedures involved in this controversial ritual. Since Abu Obaidah's speech in January, rumors about the imminent sacrifice of these red heifers have spread online, stirring considerable attention among Third Temple supporters. A notable event occurred on March 27th in Shiloh, where a press conference displayed potential designs for the altar intended for the ceremony. Rabbi Yitzhak Mamo, associated with the Uvna Jerusalem movement and a proponent of the Third Temple, suggested in a March 2023 CBS interview that Passover 2024 would be an appropriate time for the sacrifice. This ritual, as reported by Quds Press, aims to cleanse participants from the impurity of the dead, allowing them to overcome the great rabbinate of Israel's current restrictions on visiting the Al-Aqsa Mosque due to purity concerns. The planning meeting will take place in the Shiloh settlement north of Ramallah. The ceremony is anticipated to occur when the cows reach 2 years and 2 months old, the minimum age required for the purification process. Several supportive rabbis are expected to address the attendees at this gathering. Despite a rabbinic prohibition against such actions, the Jerusalem Foundation International notes that radical temple groups are proceeding with this purification ritual, using red heifers to enable religious Jews to access the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Plans indicate that the sacrifice may align with Passover in 2024. This development has alarmed Christian religious leaders globally, who describe the proposed sacrifice as madness. On April 8th, 36 religious figures from Jerusalem and beyond signed a declaration condemning the act as a potential trigger for a regional or even global war. They warned that this would transform the Israeli-Palestinian conflict from a political dispute into an intractable religious conflict with no earthly resolution. And lastly, who will sacrifice the red heifer? As Passover nears, tensions are rising around the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Jewish extremist groups, under the protection of Israeli security forces, plan to enter the compound, an act Palestinians view as a violation of the long-standing status quo. The Jordanian Waqf, the Islamic trust managing the compound, has openly criticized these planned entries, especially during Jewish holidays, stating that such actions disrupt peace and are unacceptable. The situation is particularly heated because these groups intend to carry out a ritual slaughter of 5 red heifers during Passover, which they hope to establish in place of the Dome of the Rock. Such actions are seen as provocative by the Muslim community, which manages the site, and they warn that performing any Jewish rituals there could lead to widespread outrage and heightened tensions in an already volatile region. Regarding the red cows, a statement from the Trust expressed that this religious belief should not interfere with the sanctity of the Al-Aqsa site. They demand that these issues be kept separate to avoid conflating religious practices with the site's political and religious sensitivities. The ongoing conflict has also been exacerbated by broader regional tensions, including a prolonged conflict in Gaza. Statements from Hamas have pointed to these religious activities as part of the justification for their attacks against southern Israel, indicating the deep interconnections between religious actions and regional politics. The presence of a hardline government in Israel has also been blamed for escalating tensions around these religious sites, with fears that these could lead to further attempts to take over the Al-Aqsa compound. Global observers closely watch such developments, highlighting the complex and explosive interplay of religion and politics in Jerusalem. Is Masjid al-Aqsa anticipated to face any harm as a result of the red heifer slaughter? Jewish tradition holds that the slaughter of a red heifer is a ritual aimed at purification, and importantly, it does not involve harming any location or building, including the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The practices associated with the Third Temple and the red heifer are deeply symbolic and rooted in theology rather than intent on physical disruption. Given the significant religious importance of the Temple Mount to both Muslims and Jews, any activities in Jerusalem must be approached with extreme caution. Governments and relevant authorities typically handle such matters with great care to maintain peace and respect the status quo to avoid sparking conflict or causing any harm. Should a red heifer ritual take place, it would be conducted with the utmost sensitivity to respect the concerns of all involved parties, ensuring that no damage comes to the Al-Aqsa Mosque or any other significant site. This issue is managed with a high degree of understanding and respect, allowing for an environment where individuals from both faiths can openly discuss and practice their beliefs without fear of conflict. What do Muslims say about the red heifer sacrifice? The proposed location for the Third Temple is highly sensitive. It is currently home to two of Islam's holiest sites, the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock Shrine. Constructing the Third Temple there would potentially require the demolition of these revered sites, a scenario fraught with severe consequences. Mustafa Abu Sway, the Imam al-Ghazali chair at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, describes removing these Islamic landmarks as unimaginable, warning that it would be like opening a Pandora's box that nobody can close. The thought of such actions stirs deep concerns and varied reactions among Muslims, who view any threat to these sacred sites as deeply problematic. For many in the Muslim community, the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock are not just historical artifacts, but pivotal to their faith and identity. Proposals to alter these sites are seen as an infringement on Muslim rights and are likely to provoke significant unrest. Moreover, some Muslims interpret the narrative of the red heifer sacrifice and the Third Temple in the context of end-time prophecies, associating it with apocalyptic predictions such as the emergence of the Dajjal, Antichrist, and the Day of Judgment, intensifying their apprehensions. These perspectives make the issue of the Third Temple and the associated red heifer sacrifice a highly contentious topic, eliciting a spectrum of reactions from concern to outright condemnation based on religious beliefs and geopolitical implications. So what do you think of sacrificing a red heifer? Comment below and subscribe for more.